I was a hustler. And even though I rarely had a chance to speak to the man, I know when I did, I couldn't trust him, but it didn't matter because he was my uncle, and for that reason, I would always love him. Or should I say, I would have always loved him. Because it was those neighborhood streets that was still his heartbeat that those dudes got to busting, and even though the bullets weren't meant for him, it's his body that caught the majority of them now. I can't stand up here this evening to make him seem like he was an angel. Because the reality is that he wasn't. But the life that he led doesn't mean he deserves to be dead, because I'm telling you now that it doesn't. And for anybody who would say that it does, try explaining that to my two fatherless cousins who, like him, is trying to explain to me how much is left of him. And when my uncle was alive, I never wanted him to think that I was above him. So when I see dudes in the streets doing the same thing, I try my best not to judge them. Because I realize that at the end of the day, sometimes circumstances makes it this way and puts brothers in a difficult position. And when you ain't got nothing to eat and there's money in the streets, you're going to do what you got to do to get a pot to piss in. And quite frankly, what else do they expect a brother to do when other ways to get money is missing? And see, that is the reason why I wrote this piece, because here's something that deserves to be mentioned. Now, even though I lost my uncle to gang violence, I've never been one to knock another man's hustle. And quite frankly, I still have respect for the gang. And understanding what leads a brother to do this in the first place, I'm not even going to say that the hustle is to blame, because I have lived in the park and slept in my car, and I realize that this is a shame. But let's not get it confused, because the hood's paid its dues, and right now it's expecting some change, and that change has to start with you. It has to start with me. You see, I realize that we can no longer only be concerned with the well-being of those that are close to me. Because it is that complacency that is making these kids think that this is how things are supposed to be. That the current set of circumstances forever defines them and makes it impossible for their goals to reach. And now we have to show them something different, and I understand that that goes for me. And that's why dudes that were once my friends have to be foes to me. Please believe. We can no longer subscribe to the tenet that those who are trying to clean up our communities are doing nothing more than snitching. Because the reality is, it is those that are destroying it are really the ones that should stop bitching, because our actions are built on karma. So on the one hand, you can't fuck with the dirty game and then wonder why your cops get you. See, instead of trying to be this hard figure, we're not trying to be some father figures, because that's really what the block is missing. See, we are glorifying a lifestyle that is defaming our women, putting priorities that are in front of us that are not our children. And some of us don't even realize it until the kids pray to God that He blesses the family and your name's not mentioned. But how can He miss what to Him is not existent? You see, it may take a village to raise a child, but the absence of a single male can fail him. And how is it that we expect these boys to grow up to be men when there's not a man around to tell them? So instead, they're falling victim to a society that, quite frankly, is willing to jail them. That thinks that it's easier, instead of educating them, to jail them. So now they're looking at us, asking for us to help them. What are we going to tell them? You see, we are at a point now where we have to become vehicles of change. But the problem is that while half of us are trying to move forward focused, the other half are trying to dodge magnums, looking for answers in the streets when the entire time God's has. You see, we need to be teaching our youth the truth more than lies, but instead they're involved in these crimes where they're learning to Q45. So from this moment until infinity, you got to teach them that we are not the enemy. Listen, you may not think that you're a revolutionary, but contrary to popular opinion, we are all part of a revolution, part of a solution. We have to go from young, ignorant males that are too often associated with guns, crack, and jail to African-American men that must make a difference where this all must begin. Our communities. We must go from referring to women as bitches and hoes to supporting them and women with goals, because they are the backbone of every family. So I'm asking you to say something, do something, be something that will help our communities and increase our peace. Because my real name is Vincent Maurice. I was named after my mother's two brothers, and even though Uncle Vincent was an upstanding, God-fearing man, I can't say the same for the other, because Maurice, he's my uncle that's now deceased. And I lost him without getting justice. But I carry his name so that his death not in vain, and my will to make change is because of him. Portland, help me make change. Rest in peace.